Okay, so we are here with the living legend that is Bluey from Incognito. We have got some special questions to talk to him about today. He has been very involved in the release of Get Deep, Abby Flynn's Jazz and Soul album project. How are you doing today, Bluey?
Very good. It's a sunny day, and we're here together and chatting about something precious to both of us.
So I'm going to dive right in there. Like, you've worked with some of the greatest soul and jazz artists in the world. What was it about Abby Flynn's voice and spirit that made you want to support her on this project?
Well, right from the first time I met Abby, she was 11 years old and full of beans. Nothing's changed. She had that joy of life and love of music already at the age of 11. And it was her auntie that was instrumental in bringing us together. She was the manager of the studio that I used to work at, Swan Yard, and she's herself being a singer and now a radio host, was very keen to make sure that Abby followed her dreams. And she introduced me to Abby much later, but the first meeting was at the age of 11, and it was a memorable day because it was the day that the Twin Towers came down, and it was as I was meeting Abby, we ran upstairs to watch it on the television, my little TV, and we captured the moment and gulped at what was happening to our world and wondered if it was it was something that was going to repeat itself around the world, and it was certainly kind of life-changing moment for everybody, or at least a memory that will stay with us forever. But I do remember her energy, and that never left me. You know, it's like it never. All the events that was happening around us didn't supersede the memory of actually meeting her and feeling her joy of life.
So Get Deep isn't just an album, it's a healing journey. What was it like being in the room with Abby as she brought these songs written during cancer recovery and healing to life? What was that experience like?
Well, the thing is, I was going to help Abby anyway. I was going to be instrumental in making things possible for her and ease away. When I realized what was going on with her life and with the healing, with the journey with cancer would be thrilling, because she had to go through and see whether she was actually going to come out the other side, you know. She was pushing against the flow, but music was central, and I understand that. I understand that journey, even though we made very different journeys in life, and hers was unlike any other that I knew. You know, for such a young person to be going through what she went through, and it made me more wanting to help her on this journey, because we talk about helping people in our songs. We talk about reaching out to people in life and feeling the blessings of having people come to embrace us because of our music. So when somebody's actually going through stuff and you know that you can open up a door, it was actually a really good feeling to be able to give her studio time, to be able to say, you know, don't worry about it, just go ahead and make your music the way that you want to make it. And watching other people around her that was feeling the same, and I met some incredible people, including James Berkeley at that time that was working with her, and my engineer was really happy to be Mo Hausler. He was really happy that she was making this music of a really with a special kind of unique sound. You know, it was her own journey in lyrics and in sound, and it felt really good.
So you helped shape the sound of a very particular track called Invincible on the Get Deep album, alongside the great late Amp Fiddler. What did Amp bring to that process, and what do you remember most about those sessions?
Well, Amp was already a guiding light in my life prior to us actually working with Abby. Amp was a musician and an artist that I actually admired for many years ahead of us actually working together. And I'd done some work with AMP on various projects, including Ski Oakenfall's album, where he spent some time at my studio. And I knew Amp's heart, and when I asked him to come and contribute to this, and I told him Abby's story, he was like, listen, I'm there. Now, sadly, since we've lost Amp, and it's quite poignant that this track is on this record, because Invincible is what it says, you know. It's like there is something that lives beyond us and our creations, you know, and that is the spirit of that song, and the continuation beyond our own mortal lives, you know. And it really, I felt it was really helping Abby, because she was making a dream come true. She's an Amp Fiddler fan, and there was Amp in the studio with her, and every time I looked at her, you know, he sang a note, and I would look at her, and she had this expression of like delight and wonder, as if something like major was happening with every second. And, you know, she's an animated person, and to see her in the room with animated Amp Fiddler was really a really special moment that I'll treasure for the rest of my life.
You've always championed truth and emotion in music. How does Get Deep speak to you personally, as both a producer and someone who has faced your own health battles?
Well, the health issue aside, and you can't remove one from the other, because you know, it's like we live our lives, we make music, we have our profession, but music, the way that people like Abby and myself speak it, it's our truth, because it's our everyday life. It's what we've chosen. It's what we've chosen as our banner. You know, it's like if it explains everything without even having to say a word. So it was special that I could share this with someone, a younger person. I've always tried to open doors for others, because I've always understood my luck and my joy is to do what I do. To be able to open up doors to others is, to me, is my way of saying thank you every day of my life. I'm currently working with young people all over the world, including some children with severe disabilities, making music in Italy. And last night I was writing a piece for them, and I was thinking, I'm going to do this interview today, and I felt, well, all these combined, you know, it made me think, this is the path that I knew that I was going to be on, because I discovered music for a very different reason than most people would think. I discovered music on the beaches of Mauritius at the age of 5, and it was my earliest memory of mixing up the fact that music is not magic. You know, I thought it was magicians, because then we're making people that was feeling broken stand up and play and dance. And I wanted to heal my grandmother, so I said I would become a magician, and she said, no, that's a musician, they're playing music. And in truth, they're the same thing. So I've lived this life of a magical musician, trying to do it, healing myself, healing others, and this is just a part of the journey that it was very poignant, because I actually got to work with somebody who was actually went through times that most of us would find very hard to even cope with without music. But I understood how important music was to Abby, and that she didn't want to stop while it was going on. Sometimes she was having chemo, and she was in the studio straight after, and it was amazing, because I've been on this journey with a few people, you know, and I'm sad when I learn of their condition and what's going on with them, but I also understand the joy and the positive nature of music, and how it's working side by side is part of a healing. Sorry, it's quite emotional for me. because I had my partner at one point went through had to. She was a musician and had to go through battling, and she's a cancer survivor. So I've gone through it with people, but Abby's journey was particularly interesting because not only did she defy what most people were thinking she had to overcome. Not only did she defy the situation, but she went on to have a baby during this period. You know, she went on to recover and have a baby, and that those elements of anybody's journey. I'm a father of 4, so I know what women go through. I know what we go through as people to overcome the daily trials of life. You know, even if it was just paying the rent, you know, her having to go through this with her health and with having a baby and coming out shiny and bright and making an album that will be of service to others. Because I knew this album wasn't just Abby's album. This album is for other people who are on the journey too, but also for those that just need inspiration. Yeah. It's an inspiring journey.
Abby often talks about the power of soul music as a healing force. Having built your career on soul, jazz and funk, how do you see music's role in recovery and emotional transformation?
Well, I totally get it, because I'm a person that's been through health issues from a young age, and I know how music has been a focus that actually guides me to a place of strength. I know how it feeds my soul. So when I see Abby's journey and she tells me various stories in with words or with song, I'm fully involved in knowing the emotions that it takes, and the strength, the joy that you get from it, the energy that's released, and so it's close to me, and there is a deep understanding for musicians that have taken on music because they understand that you're there, you create, which gives you that inner joy of creation. You know, at school we write an essay for the first time, and the teacher says it's a good essay, you know. But people like Abby and myself have been writing songs that people around the world take it, you know, these musical essays, and they use it for themselves to overcome when they're pushing against the flow.
That's the power of music.
The power of music is just, it's enormous, and when we live it and we battle through with it as our companion, when we know that it's our friend and we hold the hand of music and we walk with it, you want to share it, because you've got something which is so incredible and that is hard to put in words, therefore we put it in song, you know. And when we do, we feel, yeah, you know, I've made it. And then you take it to the stage, and then you look at somebody's eyes, and then you speak to somebody after the show and you're signing an autograph, and they say to you, well, thank you so much for helping me through this period. You know, I lost my father, or I lost my mother, or I went through this, and I went through cancer, and I'm a survivor. It's, you know that you were created for that. You know why you're on this planet. You know, Abby and I know why we're on the planet and what our job is.
What advice would you give to artists navigating hardship while trying to create, especially when it comes to balancing vulnerability with your craft?
To know that you're blessed with an answer. If you're an artist, if you're a creative musician, if you're a wordsmith, if you're a person who has the ability to form an idea and pass it on to others, if you have that skill set, you're already on your path. You're on a winning path that many people don't have, because they will just wait for answers from somewhere else and medication. You know, you already carry some of the healing qualities that is needed in life, because you have this talent. And not only is it going to see you through, but it's going to help somebody else.
You have given so much to British music, and this album is just another beautiful chapter. How do you hope audiences will receive Get Deep, and what do you want them to understand about the journey behind it?
First and foremost, I want them to just enjoy the music, because it's enjoyable music. It's uplifting. It's got the soul. It's got a funkiness to it that I love about music, and it's got the stories of this journey that this young person's been on, that sometimes uses the language that I've always understood from soul music, from jazz music from the past, but also of her generation. You know, it's got her phrasing, it's got her stories, but it's all connected with stuff that I love, but it's freshly itself. It's its own thing.
Tell us a little bit about what you're working on at the moment, what's happening in Bluey's world. What million things are happening in Bluey's world?
Well, speaking of pushing against the flow, which is part of this story, Abby's story, my story is that I have early stage Parkinson's, which is getting really difficult to play the guitar. I actually closed the studio down for a couple of days and went in there, and knowing that this is going to get worse, and did a couple of tracks where I'm playing most of it myself, just because I wanted to mark the time while I can. I'm not going to give up on the fact that there's possibilities that things will be invented and create, and people are always finding ways to help people get better. And but I know that part of this album, making this album, was to make sure, this is the 20th Incognito album I'm doing in the 46 years that we've existed, is to make sure that I give opportunities to a bunch of people, because it's not just all about me and my journey. It's so I've brought in singers and musicians and kind of included them in there, given them a chance to write, and I've made it like almost like a creative jam session since January, and we were supposed to do 9 tracks. We now have 17 tracks, and we've got to whittle it down, and that just goes to show who we are. We are people who come together, and the joy of what we do sometimes don't allow us to see time. The joy of what we do makes us forget our pain. The joys of what we do makes us feel invincible.